Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It is truly a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you for joining us for this meeting in June. With club elections right around the corner, we felt it was the right time to provide the club an overview of the different club officer roles and their responsibilities, just to give you some insight into what each of these different roles entails. And so that's what the plan is for today's speech. Serving as a club officer is a great responsibility and a very, very exciting opportunity. So the term of office is filled with chances to renew perspectives, really practice teamwork with different folks from around this campus, and develop the capacity to translate values and strategies into productive actions. And I think that is really one of the benefits of joining Toastmasters. You really think about it from the public speaking perspective, and that you'll be able to increase and enhance your skills in that space. But you're also able to really stretch those leadership muscles. And that's another added benefit of serving as an officer in the Toastmasters Club. There are many opportunities to lead as an officer. This could include a variety of different things like resolving a conflict, depending on the role between club members. I'm sorry, um, and depending on your role, that type of conflict and where you engage in that may be a little bit different. You may also plan club events, delegate important tasks to volunteer. That's been a really key thing for me. One of the elements in which I struggled in my leadership is not really being able to effectively delegate. I always feel like I'm imposing stress, work on other people. So I try to take on as much as I can. But working with Toastmasters makes me realize that delegating is important not only for yourself and your sanity, but also to empower others, to allow them to see that they have the capabilities and the bandwidth to take on certain actions. So that's just another added benefit and how I've benefited from it personally. And in your role, by providing leadership and support, you have the ability to foster or father a positive environment and father also ideas that can be brought to life from your members. Not only developing yourself, but developing other peers in your Toastmasters club, helping them grow both personally and professionally as well. So club officers also have many opportunities to participate in the governance of Toastmasters International. So the governance of an organization that's much bigger than just our club. So it really allows you to stretch your leadership muscles and also stretch how you're able to receive benefits from participating in the Toastmasters Club. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Toastmasters leadership philosophy. They have their own philosophy for what they define as leadership. And so within Toastmasters, they define leadership as leaders who achieve results for their clubs by giving priority attention to the needs of their members and fellow club officers. It's less about us as an individual and more about the club when you're in that leadership position. Leaders can be considered the steward of the club's resources, both human and financial, but also physical resources as we meet in person and have items that the club maintains. And leadership is always a lifelong journey that includes a desire to serve others and a commitment to lead. And Toastmasters definitely pulls upon those streams. So as we lead, Toastmasters always encourages us to strive to be trustworthy, self-aware, humble, caring, and empowering. And I think that's what we try to bring to the club as we participate. Empower one another, be humble, but also be self-aware and understand where we fit in this role of serving as an officer in the Toastmasters Club. So there are 7 different club officer roles currently. These roles include president, vice president of education, vice president of membership, vice president of public relations, secretary, treasurer, and sergeant at arms. I am currently the club secretary. I've also served as vice president of membership, vice president of public relations, and I had a term of president. I know that Lena and I also know that Jaslyn have also cycled through many of the different officer roles on here. So currently vice president of education is Fawaz, vice president of membership is Jaslyn, vice president of public relations is Lisa Derby. I am secretary, Lisa Ng is treasurer, and then Juan Fong is sergeant at arms. We have a vacancy right now at president because at the beginning of this term, after we voted on president, it was a great opportunity for that individual, Nikki. She was able to find another position, but unfortunately that left us with an open role. So we've all been working together to take on and fill that role. with Fawaz doing, I would say, much of the heavy lifting from the president's role perspective. So we do appreciate that, but it's always great when you can fill as many of the roles as possible because these seven officers really play a significant role in the success that the club will ultimately be able to achieve. So let's first start. I'm going to go through each of the different roles that I just discussed, just to give you a little bit of background about what the specific responsibilities of those officers are, and then some similar scenarios or some common scenarios that these different officers may find while in that role. So let's start with the president. And I like to describe the president as the individual that sets the tone for the club. The president is the person who is expected to provide helpful and supportive leadership for all of the club's activities and to be the first to assume responsibility for the progress and the overall welfare and just general success of the club. The club president motivates, arbitrates, and facilitates as required. And when making a difficult decision, they should do so in consultation with club members. So they're really the key linchpin for the club officers. They make sure that the officers are working effectively together, that all actions are being followed up upon and completed. And in general, they preside over the day to day operations of the club. So they preside over meetings, both the club meetings, but also the club executive meetings where the officers come together to plan strategically for the Toastmasters Club. Um, the president also ensures that the club is moving towards meeting our Toastmaster international goals. So outside of what we discuss in our bi-weekly meetings, we also have goals that the club is aiming to achieve. These goals include a massive education goal. So how many of us complete the first level of our pathways, our second level, third level, and so forth. The more of us that complete those pathways, the more successful we'll be as a club and the greater recognition we'll get. There's also some elements tied to club officer training, membership dues payments, as well as any new members that you're able to attract to the club. Those are items that you have to look at as an officer as well. You also want to make sure you recognize member achievements, such as icebreakers, which Rocio is going to give today. We want to recognize those achievements. Taking your first step along that path of improving your public speaking really starts with joining Toastmasters, but then getting that icebreaker speech done. So you always want to recognize those member achievements. And your purpose here overall is to lead and guide. So it's always your responsibility as president to provide leadership for the club whenever it's required, creating a positive learning environment, and enhancing the club quality by conducting well-run, energetic, interesting meetings that actively engage club members and guests that are participating. And then also you'll have to monitor base camp manager. This means that you monitor each individual club member's progress through the Pathways platform, awarding them once they're complete different Pathways levels, and encouraging them to grow through their Pathways education. And so I just wanted to start with or end this section with a scenario that the president may face. So in this scenario, a member who is scheduled to fill a meeting role does not unfortunately come to the meeting. That's a dilemma, and it often does occur because things happen and we're meeting during the workday. So in this scenario, a potential solution would be to help the Toastmaster of the meeting, the Toastmaster of the day, fill the role by either recruiting another member who does not already have an assigned role, or if necessary, fill the role yourself. So you want to make sure you keep that in mind. These are options to sort of provide a solution and move forward. And we also have the Vice President of Education. So I define the Vice President of Education as a member's educational guide. The Vice President of Education schedules member speeches, verifies the completion of projects, and serves as a resource for questions about the education program, speech contests, and the Club Mentor program. So they're a very important source of Toastmasters knowledge for club members, and it's their job to become familiar with all aspects of the Toastmasters education program. So I think the Vice President of Education is even more significant in terms of an officer's role than even the club president. So some of the responsibilities include coordinating the club schedule, who's going to take on what roles in the meeting in advance, who's going to speak, supporting the education program, how do we get our club members going through the Pathways program, also monitoring base camp manager, the president, the vice president of education, and the secretary all have a role in that. The vice president of education also plans speech contests, manages our mentor program, which we look to assign every new member a mentor, and then just in general, really just support the overall educational goals of Toastmasters members. So a scenario relevant to the VPE would be that members are not always willing to commit to meeting rooms, and that is a challenge. So in that scenario, a potential solution may be to overly encourage each Toastmaster of the meeting to initiate an email discussion several days before the meeting to confirm each member assigned to a role, but then also emphasize the importance of member participation and commitment and how that can help us all get closer to achieving our educational goals. Moving forward, we have Vice President of Membership. And I define this role as the individual that transforms guests to members. So the Vice President of Membership promotes the club and manages the process of bringing in guests and transforming them into members, helps to maintain a constant influx of new members by initiating contact with guests, making sure the guests feel welcome, and then also providing a follow-up resource to those guests to help them understand what the club can do for them. So some responsibilities, as we just discussed, include recruiting new members, conducting membership building activities, assisting guests however they may need help, processing membership activities, among many other activities that are critical to the club. So it's really about focusing on the members. How can we ensure that we have a constant flow of members into the club? How can we encourage them to join us, and how can we make the club more appealing? So a scenario this individual role may face is that the club is experiencing rapid turnover in membership. Members sign up, but they stay for only a few weeks and then move on. A potential solution in this instance would be to encourage members to keep the meetings lively, to start and end on time, and to keep a positive atmosphere. As we know, a first impression is a lasting impression, and that includes a club experience. We want to make sure that club experience is always as positive as possible. Then we have Vice President of Public Relations, who I describe as the club promoter. The Vice President of Public Relations promotes the club to the NIST community and notifies NIST about the club's existence and the benefits that it provides. So you're really promoting the activities of the Toastmasters Club. So some of the responsibilities include, of course, publicizing the club, hosting club awareness activities, keeping the website current, as well as just encouraging members to also publicize the club. So a scenario this role may face is that it's difficult to know if these efforts are really successful. So I would suggest as a solution to employ a survey method. Ask the guests how they heard about the club and keep track of the responses. Ask NIST what they know about the club and keep track of the responses. And then learn from that about ways in which we can improve the awareness of Toastmasters. Next is the secretary or the club tracker. The club secretary maintains all club records, manages club files, handles club correspondence, and takes the minutes at each club and club executive committee meeting. So they're in charge of really keeping track of everything related to the club, making sure everything is updated, and keeping the information related to meeting notes updated. So responsibilities you see listed on here: taking notes, maintaining files, recruiting new officers, but then also helping manage the base camp manager process. And a scenario you may face here is that it's difficult to take notes while you're actually participating in the meeting. So a solution there is that if you are presenting, like giving a speech, or if you're presenting a significant piece at a business meeting, arrange for another club member to take the meetings. Communicate, communicate, communicate. That's always a great leadership tactic. Next is the club accountant, or otherwise known as the treasurer. The treasurer really is, as it says, the club's accountant, manages the bank account, oversees just in general our other accounts, collects membership dues, makes purchases on behalf of the club, such as purchasing gifts to recognize awards. And the treasurer is very important to just maintaining the finances. While the overall scope of duties isn't as broad, it's just as critical as any other officer role. So you may face some difficulty motivating members to pay membership dues on time or early. A solution there would be to just emphasize the implications of not paying on time, how that may affect the goal of or the individual's ability to achieve their educational goals. And then finally, we have the sergeant at arms, who is what we term the property manager. And when we were meeting in person physically, the club had physical property. We had banners, lecterns, timing devices, etc. Sergeant at arms would be managing that. Now that we're virtual mainly, the sergeant at arms makes sure that we coordinate club meetings. They set up the online meetings as we need them. They manage that online platform, and they make sure that our online platform accommodates members and guests. So a scenario this role may face is that it's difficult to find time to arrive early and make sure the meeting venue is established properly. So in that case, again, communicate, communicate, communicate. Ask other officers, ask other club members to see if they can assist you and volunteer as needed. So if there's one thing I could leave you with, it's that as club leaders, we play an important role in the mission of Toastmasters International and in the mission of the club, which is that we empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders at the same time. And we also help ourselves become more effective leaders in the same sense. So, as you think about how to give back or how to make sure you get the most out of Toastmasters, also consider how you can give back to the club while also growing your leadership capabilities. It's been a wonderful experience for myself. I really do enjoy engaging with the Toastmasters members in this officer role. And I really do hope that I'm able to bring value and connect the value between the club and the individual through this role. So thank you for your time today. If you have any questions about any of these roles, feel free to follow up with me. But I hope that this leaves you with some good information. I know I blew way over my time, but I might as well just keep it going. So thank you all, and I appreciate the time to be able to talk with you all today.
Thank you very much. Nico, you had given a wonderful speech called Toastmasters Club Leadership Roles. Very necessary speech. I wish every Toastmaster at the NIST Toastmaster Club was here to have you present it, because it's a very important message. A club is as vital as its leadership, and we certainly need people to step up and take on those roles. Not only because it allows the current leaders to refresh themselves and maybe take on different roles, or maybe also for some fresh ideas to come in. So I'm really glad that you had given this talk. The things that I really appreciated about your talk was that you included the word father, was the vocation, and I was glad that you snuck that in. And you also brought in Rosito's talk, which I thought that was really nice, pulling in events that happen just in this moment into your presentation. So I think that's very effective to allow the audience to feel that you're fully participating in what's going on around. I thought you provided a great overview of the big picture of what Toastmasters leadership would be, the benefits to all, and why it's so important to take on that role for personal development, as well as, I'm sure, for the club and the Toastmasters benefits as well. And then you were able to bring it down to the current club level by describing the current leaders that we have and the roles that they're playing. And I appreciated that, because quite often I don't quite know. I have to go online to figure out who's doing what. And that's probably my fault for not getting more involved in our club as I should. And I really appreciated in your talk the way that you had scenarios. You presented not only the topic of the description of what each of the roles was, but you also provided like a scenario. So I could feel, what would I do? What would be my job doing that role? So again, I thought your talk was fantastic in that it really brought home to me, at least, the importance of Toastmaster leadership roles. I don't really have any negative things to say about it, except to just wish that we had more people heard it. And I think what we should do, if at all possible, is see if we could somehow snip it on an email to allow people who weren't at the meeting to click on it and hear that important message, because I think it was a good thing to do. So thank you very much, Nico, for that timely and important topic.